Hello, hello, hello. Hola, hola, hola. Welcome to a new episode of the Yoga for All Bodies video podcast. Today, I'm so excited, as you can see on your screen, to interview Posey Daves. Passionately, she believes in the power of yoga to transform someone's life physically, spiritually, and mentally. She strongly believes anyone can practice yoga and that yoga is for everyone, no matter your age, gender, race, size, athletic ability, etc. And as a teacher, she creates an environment for her students to shine and reconnect with their inner beings in a judgment-free zone. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to be here with you.
I'm so excited to talk with you today because I love your work. I've taken your classes and I love them.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So I would like to start asking you, how did yoga came to your life?
So yoga came into my life when I was around 15 or 16 years old. So more than half my life. And it was because of gym yoga. And I actually watched a podcast with you and Jill, who works with Body Positive Fitness too. And she was saying that, gym yoga is like a lot of entryway to yoga. And I laughed because that's how I started yoga. And it was at my local gym in Florida. And they offered a yoga class every Thursday and then Saturday with this incredible yoga teacher named Sarah Beth. And I went to her, took her classes, and I started yoga because I wanted to remain flexible and mobile for my sports career. I was a really avid sports player, tennis player was my sport. And so I knew it was going to be beneficial for that. And then Sarah, she dabbled little yoga philosophy in her teaching. And so even at 16 years old, I had the understanding that yoga meant so much more than just the asana practice, but I didn't know what that meant, at 16. And so I practiced on and off for years. And then I want to say about 6 years ago, I got really serious with my practice because my whole life changed basically. And so I was looking for something deeper than just the practice. And I had this incredible yoga mentor, yoga teacher enter into my life. Her name's Caroline Weiber. And she changed my practice and the way I looked at it. And I became a yoga teacher. And then now I'm a full-time yoga teacher.
Amazing. And what made you notice or decide that you wanted to become a yoga teacher? What's the story?
So basically, I hit that I think so many yoga students that want to pursue something deeper hit that wall of let's explore what the practice could look like a little bit deeper. And so I was going through something in my life, and Caroline and I reconnected, and she was hosting a yoga teacher training actually in Bali, and I was supposed to take that one, and then life had different plans for me, but I was that sounds incredible because you're going to learn not only the asana, but the philosophy and all the other things that go into yoga. And I ended up not going to Bali because life showed up. And I took another teacher training in Florida, and it was incredible. I absolutely loved it. It was an intensive 10-week course. And I don't know, it just fit. And then I was in this job where I absolutely hated my job. It was it was not a career path that I ever wanted to go down. It was just opportunity presented itself. So I took the career path. And during my teacher training, I had the decision to basically stay in my job so I could afford yoga teacher training and then figure out what I was going to do. And in the meantime, I was in the teacher training, and you have these epiphany moments. in
Mhm.
teacher training
Yes.
that are inevitable. And I was like, I need to do something different with my life. I'm so miserable, and life is incredibly too short to be miserable to this extent. And so um, I'm now living in Maryland in the United States, and I was in Florida, and I had actually got another job offer. And my dad and my mom were like, "You're not happy here. Why are you staying here? Go back up to Maryland," because all my college friends were still up here. So I was like, "Yeah, why not?" My dad was like, "You're young. You have no responsibility that's tying you down to Florida. Go somewhere." And so I went back up to Maryland. I came up here, and I actually had no intention of becoming a full-time yoga teacher. I thought I was going to get into politics because that's what I really loved at the time. And I got up here, I started practicing at a studio. I became like a work study there. So I got free yoga, and then I became a studio manager, and then they knew that I taught. So I started to sub classes there. And then eventually it was like all these teaching opportunities around Annapolis, Maryland started to present themselves. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this now and see if politics even fits the picture. It didn't. I'm still like a full-time teacher, and that was 3 years ago. So it was like this journey of like exploration and just following the path of whatever presented in front of me.
Amazing. And yes, sometimes it just takes the courage to say, yes, I'm going to try this. And once you let life guide you, you start seeing clearly, oh, yes, this was meant to be. Yes.
Exactly. And it feels right when you're on the right path. Despite all the obstacles and all the challenges that come with it, it just feels right. Like the challenges are worth the obstacles,
Yes. And did you train in vinyasa or in hatha or in what style?
So vinyasa mostly, and then with yin a part of the training as well. And then I started teaching restorative yoga because that was a passion of mine. And I actually just finished my restorative yoga teacher training not too long ago, so I'm now official. But but I did learn how to do restorative in my yoga teacher training, but it was very vinyasa based. And then yin was a section of it, and then I had to take other continuing stuff to kind of pursue my passion. But yeah, vinyasa is my training.
Mine too. I don't teach vinyasa anymore, but my original training is in vinyasa.
Yes.
And in terms of the variations, the options you offer in your classes, did you get them from the get-go in your 200, or it was more of a journey? What can you share with us?
It was through a journey. So like I had said, like I started practicing when I was 16. So, from your 16-year-old body to I'm now 33. So from your 16 to 33 body, it changes a lot. And your practice in turn, your physical practice in turn changes. So because I was such an athlete, I actually had a lot of like injuries. And before teacher training, I learned how to take different variations of certain postures just to protect my own body, or to figure out like, oh yeah, that doesn't feel that great, I'm going to try something different. And that didn't always necessarily come from a yoga teacher in a studio. It usually came from my own exploration. And then during teacher training, there was like, I loved the teacher training, but there wasn't a lot of inclusivity kind of mentality with the variations. And I actually was an advocate for it. I was like, well, if my body doesn't like that, I don't, all the people that I was training with, they were tiny and like they're not super mobile, but they were mobile and flexible, and they didn't have a belly. I have a belly. and I have shorter arms and then like a wider body, so it was like crossing my arms for eagle is just so uncomfortable. So it was kind of like I became this advocate in my own teacher training just to help the other teachers kind of be like, hey, there are other body types than like super flexible, super skinny, or like super athletic. um, and so it was kind of that. And then after my teacher training, I dove into other yoga teachers practices that offered different variations freely, and inclusivity, it was a part of their language. Like, you were a part of that journey. And there were some other people, and so it was kind of like I learned vicariously through others and then practiced it on my own body. But at the first time, it was like my body was my first teacher.
Love it. Yes, yes, yes. And we need to trust that. I remember when, before getting in my 200 hours, I was so concerned that I knew I didn't look like my classmates.
Yes.
I knew I needed my wall. I needed my blocks. And there's all these voices that are saying, no, you're not made to be a yoga teacher. But it's not the case. That's why it's so important that we advocate, as you were mentioning, in our teacher trainings, in our classes, in life, and in every single class we go to, really.
Yes, I agree. And so I am a part of a teacher training right now as a trainer, and I'm teaching the vinyasa part of the training, because the training is unique in the sense that it has Ashtanga being taught, and then Bikram, and then Vinyasa, and they're all slightly different, and they all come from a mentality that, especially Ashtanga and especially Bikram, that variations aren't really always an option, or like if different variations are an option, it's like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Because it's very traditional, like, this is how you get into it, this is how you exit, that's it. So, and then Vinyasa, there's a little kind of freedom, but there's still that mentality that you have to do a posture a certain way, or it has to look a certain way to be the posture. And I think we're starting to get away from that. And so when I was asked to be a part of this teacher training, I was like, when I'm teaching my Vinyasa section, I'm going to make sure that, like, I speak from an inclusive language. Like, variations are important, props are important, honoring your body and showing up as you are, and like taking the ego away from the teacher too, because there's sometimes that mentality of like, my way is the best way, or like, why aren't you doing what I'm saying? And I think that's just a part of the journey as a teacher. And so I was like, I'm going to make sure that when I ever teach, that I include the inclusivity, it's not just hypermobile, like skinny people. You're going to have people who are older, you're going to have people who have injuries. Like, injuries alone can need variations, because your joints are like, what is going on?
Yes, yes. And totally agree. Thank you for sharing and mentioning that. For example, in my master classes, I get a lot of people that self-identify as Ashtangis in recovery because they realize that their bodies are getting older, that they have not the same flexibility, the same maybe strength, or maybe they just don't want to do it. So they come to classes, and it's so fun because my master classes are like 3 hours and a half long, and around the hour 2, they start talking and they say, yes, I'm going to share something. And it's true, it's needed, because there are diverse bodies out there. So we need to be able to serve them.
Exactly. And I actually really like the two other teacher trainers that are part of the teacher training that I'm a part of right now. They, like the person who's teaching the Bikram part, she's incredible, one, as a human being, but her background is actually like the Bikram competitions too that they do. I don't really know much about them, but I know that they exist. And so that's her background. And then she's really strayed away from that. And in her teacher career, she's kind of like, she's noticing that like maybe the variations in Bikram, like, yes, they're there for the spine and everything like that, but there are also other bodies that come in and people get injured. And so like how to work with that if they still want to be a Bikram student, right? And then the teacher that does Ashtanga, she also honors the fact that people are different. Like you're not going to have like the super mobile, hyper mobiles all the time. And how can you bring in the quote, quote, Joe Schmo, the normal person who's not the hypermobile, to come in and take Ashtanga and feel welcome in an Ashtanga class when they have no background. So it's like I joined this incredible team and we all honor the practices that we love, but we also have the mindset of like, let's include more people, like, because not everyone, like, there's not a certain look for Bikram. There's not a certain look for Ashtanga. You can walk away from the old tradition of some of that mindset.
Amazing. Yes, 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 and so needed.
Yes.
That's the future of yoga. I have no doubt.
I agree.
And the teachers that don't get on the train, I don't know what's going to happen.
Same.
And you mentioned that your classes are a judgment-free zone. What do you mean by that?
So, because I've had many experiences in different yoga classes, I've had teachers that have made me feel like because I didn't do camel that day, that my practice wasn't like good enough, or like, or if I had an injury, it was, just okay. And I can still push myself. And that alone, when that teacher is saying that to you, that's judgment upon you and their own self. And so it's kind of like, oh, and then you feel kind of like I'm not fully welcome for whatever reason. And so when I became a teacher, it became very important to me to make sure, to my best ability, that the vast majority of my students feel like they can come into the class, get their yoga practice, whatever that looks like to them, because that's what I'm trying to honor is them. And I'm just holding space for their exploration of their practice. And so in the best, safest way possible. Now, I do know that like some people leave my class and they're like, we wanted it harder, or that wasn't right for me. And that's totally fine, because I'm not going to resonate with everybody, because not every teacher I've taken resonates with me. So, but it's kind of like come as you are. And I always try to say at the beginning of my classes, sometimes I forget, but the beginning of class, like, this is your practice. This is X amount of time for yourself. Honor the practice, honor your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions, your whole existence. And if that means taking Shavasana the entire time, do so. If you want to stay in a pose a little bit longer, do so. If you want to come out of a posture, please do. Like there's really this kind of freedom that I'm trying to hand my students and say like, yes, everything that I am saying is an offering and it's not a requirement. Nothing that I ever say in my class is required to do. The only requirement is just to breathe, to make sure that you're alive.
Basically.
But that's the only requirement to come to my class is like, can you breathe? Good, we're all set. So that's what I mean when it's like a judgment-free zone. And I try to make my classes like as light, as purposeful and intentional, but lightheartedness at the same time, because so many people, especially like the type A yogis that come to class, they come in with so much tension and so much judgment upon themselves that I'm not there to judge them. They already have so much on their plate. And it's like, here's like 60, 75 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever length of time of freedom for yourself. Like explore what that looks like, and you're in like a safer zone if you come to my class with that freedom. And sometimes I will see that resistance. They're like, what do you mean I can move my hips a little bit? What do you mean I can, explore my body? So that's what I mean. It's like, I want the exploration possible and the freedom to explore. And yeah, I'm just there to hold space for them to do that.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And one more time, it's so needed. I teach from the same perspective. And I remember the first time, I don't know what, I haven't even planned that, but it came from the heart, from the gut, and I said it. Feel free to go out of the pose. If you want to stay there, laying on your back. If you want to take, instead of Shavasana, a seated meditation, do it. And I remember that time I said it, I was like, who is that person? Who said that? And all the students looked at me because I was teaching in a vinyasa studio. Mm-hmm. And I said it. And they were looking at me like, what? Do I have a choice? Can I decide? But now it's normalized. So if you're watching this video and you are a teacher, yes, it might be hard at the beginning. It's going to feel weird, absolutely. but is it worth it? Yes.
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 I agree. And as a teacher, you have to, and I think like you just said, like if you're watching and you're a teacher, like you can do it. And it's true because we're taught, or at least I was taught, like you come as a teacher and like it's like your way, and it's your class, so you have to like present a certain way. And then there's a lot of teachers in the studios that do that, and that's totally fine because it works for so many people. And I remember when I first started doing a little bit different narrative and different offerings, it was like, what, but now people are like, thank you for saying that, thank you for doing these different variations, thank you, but it might look funny and you might have some backlash from other teachers or studio owners when you start to kind of like dabble into that kind of language or that kind of mentality, because it's not really like, yes, doors are opening, but it's still kind of like, is that where we're going? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes, that's where we're going.
Yes. And for example, even in one of the trainings I took, the teacher named the students that weren't following exactly what you were offering, the rogues. Like you were going rogue on the practice. And I remember I look at my classmates, and some had faces like, what is this person saying? But others were like, yes, they need to do what I'm saying. I'm the teacher. They needs to be exactly the same. And no,
it doesn't. And it's okay. No. And I also like to remind students that like your body is different every single time you step on the mat. Like every single time. There's not one day where your body is going to feel the exact same way, or even your mind is in a different place, or emotions. Like it's like a full encompassing thing. So like it's okay that you have tree pose one day with no props, and the next day you're falling all over the place and you need to have the wall and you need to have blocks. Like that's okay.
Absolutely. And in the same line, how would you describe one of your classes? What can someone expect? If they're watching this video and they're saying, oh yes, I want to take your class. What can they expect?
Well, I teach so the class that you took through Body Positive Fitness, the yoga class.
To Body Positive Fitness, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, Body Positive Fitness. I've mentioned them like 3 times now. So in that class, I really explore that like freedom of movement, and that breath awareness, and then just coming into that Shavasana. So that class in particular is like super fun. there's not a lot of like vinyasa. Like there's not any vinyasa. Like you're not going to see a chaturanga, you're not going to see an up dog from chaturanga and a down dog. It's more of that exploration of like, let's work with the spine, let's work with the hips, let's work with the everyday body parts that get really tense, and then and let's not add to that. So there's like this freedom that comes with it, and we do some like, we shake it out a lot and like that, we laugh, right? Shaking out is great for the lymphatic system, so I'm like, yes. And it gets people out of their mind. And then for like my more traditional like vinyasa classes that I teach in person at studios, it's like vinyasa, like yes, you're going to sweat because a lot of my classes are heated, but you're also going to, but it's not like super, super fast either. Like sometimes I slow everything down, and the teachers that I've taken or have taken my class, and then the students that have taken my class are like, that's so hard, like down dog and holding warrior two and slowly transitioning with the breath. And I do a lot of a breath connection awareness. Like, yes, that's a big part of vinyasa, but like it's like actually in my verbiage, like every single time I like speak, I'm like, inhale, exhale, move with the breath, you know? So it's like in my vinyasa class, I really emphasize on the breath awareness within each posture, with each moment. And I bring fun to the class. Like in vinyasa, you'll see a lot of type A people. I was a type A person. And so you'll see that, and they want that vinyasa. They want the sun A and they want the sun B. But if you come to a yoga Posey class, it's going to be spicy, but you're not always going to necessarily see sun salutation A, sun salutation B. You're not, you know, I change it up. And I think people really actually appreciate that part. Is like, I hear that feedback is like, I'm so glad you don't do the same thing over and over again. I'm glad you offer different variations. You offer how to use props, not only for your stability, but also for strengthening. And like, that's always fun. And I have moments of like pure laughter. Like we make it fun in the class. And my favorite, and my thing is, it's I say spice it up. We're gonna get spicy. It's spicy up in here. And so all my students know that like, oh, it's a spicy vinyasa class with Posey. So it's like kind of like a coined term around Annapolis in my yoga studios. They're like, ooh, spicy, you know? So, so like,
amazing.
yeah, that's what it is. It's like, let's have fun. It's just yoga, you know? It's not like, I don't know. We're not like flying a rocket into space and like anything like that.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And finally, how can people find you? Give all the information, promote yourself, everything.
Okay, so I have a website, and that's where you can find all of my class listings, my offerings in general, because as I'm actually a continuing education provider, so other yoga teachers can have mentorship with me, and then they have CEUs that way. And I host CEU workshops. The next one, I'm not quite sure when it is, but it's going to be about prop use. And and we try to make those classes available to students as well, just not teachers. And then, so that's my website where it's www.poseytheyogini.com. And then my Instagram is Posey _ yogi. So you can find me there, and you can always go just to my Instagram and find everything that you need in my bio. And that's a quick, easy way to find my website. And that's it. Like, I only have my website and my Instagram. Oh, and then I forgot, what am I talking about? I have a YouTube channel too.
Perfect.
Yeah,
What's the YouTube channel?
It's Posey the Yogi.
Amazing. And I'm
I-
sure if people went into the Instagram, they will find it.
It will, and it's mostly meditations. I don't actually have any like any flow classes on my YouTube channel, but they're all quick, easy meditations. They average from like 3 minutes to 15-minute meditations.
Love it. Amazing. So now you know, you have all the information. Thank me later. Follow the
Yeah.
Instagram. Take the classes. Yes. Thank
Yes,
me later.
please. I would love to see your beautiful faces.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, sharing your passion, for doing the work you're doing, and for sharing it here in the video podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was truly an honor to be here with you.
A big hug. Thank you so much. A big hug in your homes. And see you soon in a new episode of the Yoga for All Bodies video podcast. Bye. Press like and subscribe. And bye.